myself.
All right, everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining us for another field trip. This is the last in our series that we started during the spring when we first went into lockdown, and as things are starting to open up, we had decided to wind it down, hopefully give some folks a chance to get out in the woods and in the fields and meadows, exploring on their own. But as one of the folks who's listening today just reminded us, there's a lot of folks who would benefit from this on an ongoing basis. So stay tuned for what we can develop that might allow us to do that. But today, for our finals in the series, the virtual field trip series, we have a really special one for the Allegheny Front Hawkwatch. And today with us, we've got Dr. Brian Wargo. He is the president of the Allegheny Plateau Audubon Society. He's also an educator, he's a physicist, he's an avid hawk watcher, and wears probably 10 other hats that I haven't mentioned here yet. If you are looking, you'll notice we don't have the events link on here today because, as I mentioned, this is the last one, but there are recordings of every field trip that we've done so far, and the one from today, Brian's field trip, will be up either later today or first thing tomorrow. So if you look at the link on your screen, or if you forget the link and you just go to pa.audubon.org, just click on the chapters and centers link and scroll down, and you'll see a nice little line of cedar waxwings walking up a log, and that's your cue to click on that, and you'll have all of the recordings available to you. You can share those freely, you can watch them at your convenience, and that link will not be removed, so they'll be available indefinitely. The usual Zoom rules apply today, otherwise the sharp-shinned hawk may come to your bird bath. Just a casual warning. Your microphones are all going to be muted today except for Brian and I. Chat box is at the bottom. If you've got questions, feel free to put them in the chat box anytime throughout the field trip. We'll also have time for a Q&A at the end. And if you have any trouble with your internet connection today, you can always turn off your camera at the bottom of the screen. That frees up a little bit of bandwidth to keep you going. But before we start today, I just wanted to throw up a list real quick and just say a giant thank you to all of the groups that have presented and been a part of this virtual field trip series. We have, you know, Allegheny Front today, or the Allegheny Plateau Audubon Society today, talking about the Allegheny Front Hawkwatch, and I see the error on the very first one there. They're actually called the Allegheny Plateau Audubon Society. Hawkwatch is the Allegheny Front. Appalachian Audubon Society with their field trip about Trout Run, our Audubon, Pennsylvania folks who were on a number, including the Kittatinny Ridge field trip, Bucks County with their fantastic field trip about Honey Hollow, our very first pathway makers, Greater Wyoming Valley with their field trip about Moon Lake, Juniata Valley, who covered 3 for us, Laura's Backyard, Shanks Ferry Wildflower Preserve, and Art in Nature. Lehigh Valley did last week's Butterflying for Birders. Shanks Valley with Juniata Valley Audubon Society was also representing the Pennsylvania Native Plant Society. And then we had Seven Mountains, who did your Birding by Ear field trip, and Wissahickon Trails and Wingcoat, who partnered on the Crossways Preserve field trip that was number 2 in the series. So if you've missed any of them, I hope you'll go back and look at them, and I hope that you'll reach out to these groups. They're always looking for interested participants. They're looking for volunteers and folks like you who support their mission to protect birds in the places they need. So, giant thank you to every single one of them. And with that, I am going to stop my share and hand over the reins to Dr. Brian Wargo. Brian, I'm sure you're getting there, but your mute is still on.
Okay. Is the right screen showing? I have 2 screens here, so I can't tell. Okay. All right. So welcome. And today we're going to talk about the Allegheny Front Hawkwatch. It's better to be there, but this will give us an overlay of, what this place is all about and why it's magical. And I do wear a bunch of hats and a lot of hawk watching hats. So just so you know, I am part of the Hawk Migration Association of North America, where I chair the Education and Conservation Committee and also the Data Committee. And I'm also the Eastern Flyway editor for Hawk Migration Studies. So I'm immersed in lots and lots of data all of the time. And I'm a physicist by training. So there's going to be a couple graphs and some data. And if you don't want to see it, you could just put in the chat, like, skip ahead. We don't need to see that. Okay. But a lot of us birders, we like that stuff too. It's just the way our brains are wired. So looking at this first picture, this is what the Allegheny Front Hawkwatch looks like now. In fact, it was last spring. We have some students out there and we were doing a raptor-thon. But it didn't always look this way. This is the combination of 20 or 30 years worth of work of so many people at our facility. So I want you to remember this because I'm going to take you back in history just a little bit here and we'll see what it used to look like. But the first question is, why the Allegheny Front for a Hawkwatch? So if we click to the next slide here, we can see Pennsylvania. I hope everyone recognizes Pennsylvania. And most of you probably know where you're at. But this area right here, Kelly, is my mouse showing okay?
Yep,
Right.
it's perfect.
This is what hawks are looking for. Hawks are not going to fly this high, but this is what they're looking for. They're not going to fly over here during migration, and they're not going to fly so much over here. They are going to fly right down this superhighway. Hawks like ridges. These ridges give them a free lift, and that's why they're going to be there. Now, the Allegheny Front, I don't know if you could see this tiny little dot right here. That tiny little dot is Shawnee Lake. And we stand right here. So if you were to go back to the other slide looking out, we would be looking to the east in this direction right here. We look directly at Shawnee Lake. And if I go to the next slide, you'll see a couple familiar places like Pittsburgh, and then over here is Philadelphia, Harrisburg. So here's the Allegheny Front. There's a bunch of other hawk watches in Pennsylvania that are following these ridges. And we happen to be the westernmost hawk watch, and that gives us advantages on east wind days. Here's a little bit of our topography. There's Shawnee Lake, and you can see, so over here, we're gonna have like the Allegheny Front section, and over to our left, we'd have the Allegheny Mountain section, and then right here, we're gonna have the division between the Appalachian Plateau Province and the Ridge and Valley Province. But we stand right here. I don't know if you can see this little line, and this is what's really interesting. Right there, that's our line that goes directly through our Hawkwatch. That initial picture I had with the youngsters staring out, they are actually in Bedford County. If we walk about 10 steps back, we're in Somerset County. So we always have a hard time trying to tell people where we're at. But now with Google, it's easy. Anyhow, we look out here and you can actually see there are going to be some other nice big mountains. Evetts Mountain and Wills Mountain kind of disappears along with Buffalo. And this is about a 20-mile stretch. Okay, so I'd say Shawnee's about 10 miles away. Anyhow, the birds aren't going to really go anywhere west of here. I mean, of course they will, but the major migration, they're going to hug this ridge. And if you see all those little lines there, that means steep, steep elevation. From where we were standing down to the bottom is about an 800-foot drop. Okay, so this is what we see in the morning. We are on top of the clouds, and it's just a magnificent picture. The first time that I came out here, I could not believe it. I thought this was water or something like that. So we're above the clouds, and the sun is probably, I don't know, we're talking maybe 9 in the morning here, maybe 8:30 in the morning. This is probably, I can't tell without the color, but either way, we're above the clouds. Now, we're not going to see birds above the clouds here normally because a lot of hawks, they're just not going to fly early in the morning. They're going to wait till this burns off. We call it burning off, but the clouds will, rise higher and we'll be able to see the valley below. But it is an extraordinary place, and we're 2,850 feet. So if you're there early, you might see a blanket of clouds below you. You might also see a blanket of clouds in your face where you would not be able to see this stump or that sign, or if someone was 10 feet away from you, you're not going to be able to see them. It gets that foggy and it's really difficult. So always check our website before you come out. All right, let's move on. Here are the people that founded the Allegheny Front Hawkwatch. We have Gene over here, Gene Clement, and this is Chi. He's one of our original, what do we call them, coordinators. And this is Nancy and some others. I think that's Bill Judd. But anyhow, this is in 1998. So this Hawkwatch was around for about 10 years at this point. And this is the modern view of it. In fact, that box right there was put up when we first started, and he just passed. So we're generational now. We literally have people that, their kids are coming to the Hawkwatch and grandkids. So let me give you a couple other pictures because it didn't always look like what you're going to see now. This is Chi. When this land was purchased, it was lots of trees in the way, you couldn't see anything, and a lot of them got cut down so that we can make it into a Hawkwatch. And these trees and stumps were here for a very long time. So when you come today, they're all gone. How that happened is the hard work of all of these older folks that were my mentors when I came in. So this is from 2003. And this is 2005. I think that's Joe Sabo there, and this is Jim Rock. A lot of these people are still there. They're still there. We have so much history. And you might be asking, why do they come back? Because it's magical. That's why they come back. Here's some of this. There's just a few of these logs left. All the stumps were dug out by hand by these tough older gentlemen. Now, once you get rid of the trees, we have another problem with underbrush growing up. Remember, we're looking for hawks. We need to be able to see. So it is constantly in need of maintenance, and we do a lot of it. So if any of you want to volunteer, come on in. The weather is rough. There's just no doubt about it. Even in September, the weather can get cold, and it gets really cold up there. And this is the lane coming into our Hawkwatch in the winter. We've got all this snow that will blow there, and it kind of mounds up on this part. Now, if you go to the actual front where we stand, you're not going to find any snow. The winds are horrendous. They blow all the snow right off. So very rarely do we have any snow. This is the guy who owns the land, Tom Dick. He's also our founder of the Allegheny Plateau Audubon Society. This is 2003. He basically dug his way in so we could do a spring count. We're one of the few Hawkwatches that does a fall and a spring. All right, here's my birthday, and it's my Hawkwatching birthday. And you might say, wait, you were born in 2009. Now I was born again in 2009 because this is the first day I came to the Allegheny Plateau Audubon Society's Allegheny Front Hawkwatch. And I know that because my son here is 12 days old. And that was his first time out. And we came up to this place. So that would be, I don't know, what is it? Well, regardless, early November 2009. And I thought that I had walked into a cult because all these people are standing around saying, there's an eagle up there. And it's a third-year bald eagle. And I was like, okay. And, I have binoculars on, if you can see that. And I couldn't find these birds. I couldn't even find them, let alone identified as an eagle and then say it's a third year. I thought these people were crazy, but they were nice. And I loved it out there. And occasionally I'd see a bird, right? And it was just magical. And by the way, that's my daughter, Meadow, and that is Janine King. She's my partner in crime. And she'll be, we don't actually know who took this picture, so I'm not giving any credit there. It's probably our camera. I don't remember. All right, either way, that's my birthday. From that day, I became a hawk watcher. Not a good one. In fact, I was the worst hawk watcher ever. I couldn't identify a measly turkey vulture. And it took me about 5 years of intense study. I mean, like I really tried and I couldn't do it. And you can ask all my mentors there how bad of a hawk watcher I was. It really is a specialization, and you have to reorient your brain for it. Let me go to 2015. This is August 15th. This is my first day that I counted. I was a counter at Allegheny Front. I had just spent a week down at Cumberland Gap Hawkwatch, and I have an RV, and I brought it up here, and boy, that was a treat bringing it in there. But this is my first day, and I remember my first day like most of us would, but here is why all of you will remember the Allegheny Front Hawkwatch. My first day, there's not a lot of birds that are flying in August. But when you see the birds at the Allegheny Plateau Audubon Society, they look at you. This is the first bird that I counted that day. And of course, it's an osprey. And I don't have a great camera, and so a lot of the pictures here, I'm not giving you my best pictures. I'm giving you more realistic views of what you're going to see. This osprey is staring directly at me. We have fewer birds than a lot of other sites, but our site, our birds look at you. Literally, this bird is staring at me. And this is probably a female. The females like me. What can I say? The osprey like me. Got a little bit of a bib here, right? Probably not a juvenile because they look nearly identical, but we don't see this nice white, points to the terminal feathers. So I would say this is a lady, and I love her. And she's checking me out, and she literally gave me enough time to pick up my camera and snap, and then flew right over me. So just a wonderful experience. This is why people come back to the Allegheny Front. You're going to see birds a lot of other places. This is the only place big birds look at you. All right. Now, I can't see all of you, but I'm hoping that most of you know what this bird is. And if you don't, I'll give you a few hints. It's got a big white head. It's a big bird, and it has got a big white tail. And you can raise your hand if you think you know what this bird is. Janet, I can see you. Do you know what this bird is? Bald eagle, right? Bald eagle. Everyone knows it's a bald eagle. And we've seen bald eagles recently because they're doing great right now. But here's the other thing about the Allegheny Front. Notice you're seeing the top side of the bird. Very few places are you higher than the bird. So we identify a lot of our birds by the top side, not the bottom. And this is what's so awesome about the Allegheny Front. You're looking down at the bird. I don't mean like I'm looking down like, oh, you're just an eagle and I'm a, you guys understand what I'm saying, right? Fantastic. Okay. So that's a typical site that you're going to see. But most people, they like mythology. This guy right here, Charlie, he comes up every year. He'll be up at the hawk site, I bet you, in about 2 months to repaint this sculpture. This sculpture is of a mythical creature. It's an eagle, and it's a golden eagle. Now, this golden eagle, do they really even exist in nature? Well, they do. And the Allegheny Front Hawkwatch is known for our golden eagles, right? These are real birds. If you look at an atlas of golden eagles, they're not in Pennsylvania, but they fly through Pennsylvania. And in fact, Allegheny Front Hawkwatch, up until a few years ago, had the record number of golden eagle migrants coming through. We are known for our golden eagles, and they kind of look like this. This is Charlie's original design, but he ended up going with this. But anyhow, here's what they look like. All right, they come through, and you'll notice, oh, wait, is that a golden eagle? It's got a white tail, and it kind of looks like it's got some light on its head. But that is a golden eagle, and that is a juvenile golden eagle. And you could tell because look at the ends of the feathers. They're nice and pointy, beautiful white going from one side of the tail to the other. And again, looking down. And the head is actually golden. Got some whites in the primaries, the bases of the primaries, and so on. That's a juvenile. And you also notice there's a lot of haze. We get a lot of haze throughout the valley. And, actually right now with everyone staying in with COVID, a lot of the haze has gone away because it's pollution, right? So we still burn a lot of coal and it gets trapped in the valley here. So we always get this blue haze. All right, let's go on. This is another reason why people come to the Allegheny Front Hawkwatch, for the mosquitoes. Okay, they're not mosquitoes. These are all hawks. These are a very special kind of hawk. They like to hang out with one another. These are all broadwings. Literally every single one. Broadwing, 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 broadwing. And we can tell they're all broadwings. There's not a different one in there. These are all broadwings, I can assure you. Now, sometimes you will have another one scattered. That's another reason why we have people come in for this. And this is going to be in September. That last picture was probably October, I would say, but this one is September. And if you look up at the sky, by the way, this picture's bigger. This is what fit on the screen and so on. All right, here's another bird. And I'm not sure if anyone's going to get stumped by this one. But if you're new to hawk watching, because remember when I started hawk watching, there's no way that I could identify any of these birds. I was that bad. But I will give you a hint. It's got a red tail and it's a hawk. By the way, that is not the way to necessarily identify a red tails. Not all red tails have red tails. But if it's got a red tail and it's a hawk and you're in Pennsylvania, I'd probably say red-tailed hawk. Now, we like to age these birds also. I would say this is a first-year adult. You can see at, what is that, primary 10, primary 8, looks like it just molted. We've got a little bit of light coming through there. Usually their first year of adulthood, they will still have this little mark right here, but the tail is nice and red at this point, got a little white on the terminal section, so that's a red-tailed hawk. Now, when we go to the next bird, I hope everyone can identify this one. What kind of hawk is this? I hope everyone knows. It's a trick question. It is in the corvid family. It's not a hawk at all. And he's all alone, so you know it's not a crow, because crows, too gregarious. Ravens, though, they will hang out all alone. And you can tell it's got a nice wedge tail, but it has the same shape as a hawk. This is why hawk watching is so difficult. Whenever we pick up our bird manuals and we look at the beautiful colors that they're displaying, you know, often we don't get any color at all on our hawks. I mean, none. This is what we'll see. Okay. I'm giving you pictures when we've got some nice sunlight. All right. So a lot of people might get confused and be like, oh, it's a black vulture, maybe it's a turkey vulture, maybe it's a crow, this, that, whatever. But that's why we have these people. These are our counters at the Allegheny Front Hawkwatch. And some of them have been there from the very beginning. Jim Rocco has been there and been counting for over 25 years. If you go up to the Allegheny Front, more than likely you're going to run into Jim. He's my mentor, along with Ed Gawardy and Deb Bodenchatz. These people, and Bob Stewart, he's covered with my chat thing over here. He's a Sunday counter. We have one person in charge for every day of the week in the fall and in the spring. And, you know, this is a dedicated crew. Rosemary's been there forever. And we all get together. So even if you're not the counter for that day, we still have a lot of counters there at one time. And we all can communicate with one another. And that's why we have such confidence about our counts. Because over the years, we've all developed ways to pick out the birds and to know, is that really a Cooper's hawk versus a sharpshin? We don't get it right every time, but we do a really good job. And the only reason I can do a good job now, because I'm actually fine now, I'm a good counter, it's because of working with all of my mentors here. And so they're all incredibly friendly. They're all wonderful. Just stand next to them. Well, you can't with COVID. We have a policy coming out, so you're going to have to check out our website. We have a newsletter that's going to be talking about that too. So we're going to get through this, and then we're going to be able to meet up again, and then we can get close enough to say, hey, what's that bird? Okay, so right now I'll have to yell it to you. All right, so these are broadwings. Here's another picture of them. Here's a nice diagnostic for the broadwing. Looks like a knife, and it's got these nice white semi-terminal band. If you see that and you see a whole bunch of birds together, more than likely they're broadwings. So that makes it a little bit easier. But we don't often have the light behind us to show that. This one's got a molt probably in the secondary right there, regardless. Okay. Here's what we do with all that data. We literally count them all up. So there's 24 on that last slide. This is where we upload all of our data. Every single Hawkwatch does this. We enter our data into hawkcount.org, and we put all of our numbers, and we put our observations and who was helping and all that other good stuff. And you'll look, and we had 7 turkey vultures that day. The counter was me, and I started at 8 in the morning and I got done at 6. So that was about a 10-hour day. You might be saying 10 hours, that's a long time to stare in the sky. Well, this is a special day. This particular day on November 16th, if you come down, look at that. We had 52 red-tailed hawks. We also had 59 golden eagles that day. 59, okay? Most places, they're lucky if they get 1. If you go out of Pennsylvania, they're going to like, golden eagles? We have those on the East Coast? Yeah, and we got to see 59 of them. We estimate the population is, depending on what study you're looking at, from 5,000 to 10,000 of these birds on the East Coast. We saw 59 out of those birds on that one day. We also saw, oops, sorry, wrong way. We also saw a peregrine falcon, also a great bird, a merlin, and some of the others, Cooper hawk and northern harrier, and so on. And of course, some bald eagles. So we not only count them, but we age them and we list them when we see them, so that we have this data available to raptor scientists. Here's why Allegheny Front is so awesome and why we are so well respected. Look at our observation hours. I make a ton of graphs. I do a ton with data. Notice since year 2000, we're averaging about 800 hours a season for just the fall, okay? And it's rock steady, and we are consistent. And this is why Allegheny Front is such an important Hawkwatch. If you have a Hawkwatch that's there for a year or 2, great. What can you say long term? Well, because we're rock solid, along with so many others, we can start to say something of value. And remember all those broadwing hawks we saw. Let me go to the next slide here. This is, of course, I'm going to have to do some more graphs. 53% of the birds that we see are broadwing hawks. And you might be saying, oh, I'm going to come up in November and I don't know anything about hawk watching, but when I see a bird, I'm just going to say it's a broadwing. You're going to be wrong. Okay, broadwings do not fly in November. Maybe there's a straggler or something, but we get all of our broadwings in mid-September, and then we don't see them again, and they just all come through in a week or 2. Okay, so you look, we only get a measly 2% of our total population as golden eagles. By the way, if you can detect sarcasm from someone who's in charge of data with hawks, 2%, that's like, if I went to a bar and left this down on the counter with other hawk watchers, they'd be like, whoa, 2%. And then I'd say, oh yeah, just an average year for us. That is a huge percentage. Okay, so that's what we like to brag about. Every hawk watch has their favorite bird and what they like to brag about. Either way, let's move on. Here is, and you can always put in the chat if you don't want to see numbers. Just go look at the colors though. This is September, and here's all the data from 1997 to 2019. Dark green. That is our biggest day for the season. The other lighter green colors are, what are the other 4 big days of broadwings? And I can't tell if everyone can see 2019. I can't. Can we move it? Yeah. Oh, we can. We can move this. And you'll notice September 16th of 2019, on one day, we counted 7,154 broadwings one day, okay? Just crazy. And the next day, we had almost 6,000 more. All right, now that is our record. That is our record without a doubt. And the day before, we only had 1,000. Ooh, you know, those are great days. Imagine seeing 1,000 hawks in a day. let alone 7,000. Okay. And then you can see all the green is right in this middle section here. And notice by the end of the month, we're down to 0. In the beginning of the month, we're at 0. Broadwings are coming during September. Probably don't want to see this, but look, I do graphs. That's what I do. Okay. No broadwings early September. No broadwings, right? This is how many total we have here. Notice it's all between about the 9th and the 19th that we see all of our broadwings. We get all of our broadwing numbers, and after that, they just stay the same for the rest of the season. Okay. And this is 2019. We had a great year, a really wonderful fall. Okay. I do a lot of this stuff. This is all the data for the Allegheny front. This is every species that we have. And I send this out, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Look, at the Allegheny front, we also know a lot about what's happening with the trends of every species. So I won't bore you with it, but let's just get to more stuff. What I want you to look at is dark green. Dark green means highest number. So 2019, highest year we've ever had for bald eagles, highest year, well, second highest for sharpshin, and by far the highest with broadwing, giving us our highest total. So if you were at the Allegheny front in the fall of 2019, you had a wonderful, wonderful year. All right, let's look at bald eagles. Bald eagles, everyone loves them, and you might be seeing more of them. And why are you seeing more of them? Well, there's more of them. Those of you that are a bit older, remember, like I do, when I was young, there was no chance of seeing a bald eagle. Now, you go out anywhere there's water, you're going to see a bald eagle. Most people don't realize it. If you go outside and there's water around, just stare up at the sky. Eventually, during that day, you're going to see a bald eagle. I guarantee it. We've never had numbers this high. It goes to show you, if we all decide, hey, let's not shoot them and let's not poison them, they'll come back. It was really that easy. And I just gave a presentation this spring, well, actually late winter, about the bald eagle, and it's just a great success story. Great success story. Unfortunately, that's not the rest of our birds. This is RPI. This is just this one gets a little bit too complicated for this talk. But if you ever want to really geek out and talk about more data, either way, you can see this is Allegheny front bald eagle populations going up, and now this is more like a population index, scientific for scientific journals. It's a little more difficult to read. Let's skip it. Let's skip that. All right, golden eagles. How are we doing with golden eagles? Well, look at this guy right here. That would be 2015. I can't see, but I'm assuming that's 2015. And we had 320 of these, and we held the record, and we were so excited about it. It's been broken a couple times since then, because golden eagles, very slight increase. I know it looks like a pretty good increase here, but this one's 2 standard deviations above our average here. So, but golden eagles are doing okay. I'll get away from this. Unfortunately, I don't know if anyone remembers all the other graphs we just showed. Most of our other species are on a terrible decline. Northern Harrier, terrible decline, not just at the Allegheny front. I've looked at every site on the East Coast. They're all declining in a scary fashion. Hopefully, there's something about their cyclical nature that'll bring them back, and we can try to convince ourselves of that. But I don't know if you can see the cycles going up and down, up and down. These aren't really the cycles, I'm just playing here, but the overall trend is down. So we are all concerned, and without collecting data at Hawkwatches, we wouldn't know this. Because remember, we have breeding bird surveys, but we also need to know the birds that are in the sky, okay? And so this is why it's important for what we do. And there's more of these trends. I'll skip all this stuff for you. All right, let's get to a bird. This bird right here, it looks like every other bird in the sky. And this one is shrugging, and he doesn't look like he has a big head, and it looks like his tail got cut off. So it is a sharp-shinned hawk. Sharpies shrug. They go like this, okay? If you see a bird going like this, and he's kind of small, and he's got a tail that has someone like cutting it off with a pair of scissors, more than likely it's a Sharpie. And they're spastic. Sharpies are spastic. They flutter like this. Flutter, 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 flutter. So quick you can't count it, okay? That's a Sharpie. The problem is, once he stretches his wings out, he's going to look like every other raptor up there. So it really is difficult. So don't be frustrated if you can't identify these right away. Let's get to another one. All right. This is not a raptor, because at the Allegheny Plateau Audubon Society, we love all birds. We love all of nature. Days that it's raining, so look over to the left here, it's raining. I was at the Hawkwatch. I'm staying there at the Hawkwatch. I'm in the rain. I know the raptors aren't flying, but I go back in the rain and I find out this beautiful hooded warbler is putting on a show. So the Allegheny front is not just about hawks. We have lots of other birds, and this hooded warbler is just showing off for me. Literally, you could see my, well, I think not on this picture, but my lens is wet, right? But I still have this beautiful picture. And I'm really happy with this picture because I had, like, it looks light here. It's like dark. It's 10 in the morning and it's raining on me. It's completely dark. I'm in, like, I feel like I'm in a rainforest at this point. So I was happy to be able to get that kind of brightness, but I have streaking. Oh, other things on bad days of counting. This is a little character that walked out of the woods. There's a whole long story about this. I'm not going to go through it right now. All you need to know, freezing cold, it's snowing on me, sleet, I'm standing over the hill so I don't get hypothermia. Well, I already had it. Out walks a bobcat and takes his time. I actually have better pictures than this, but I couldn't find them quickly. So, but notice the white on the ears here, the striping on the tail, almost zebra-like quality on the inner thigh, okay? That's what happens at the Allegheny front, even when we don't have hawks. And by the way, it happens every day. You'll see a hooded warbler and a bobcat every day. All right, you won't, right? But if you're there long enough, and it's like any other activity, if you're there, your chances increase. And if you're not, they're not going to increase. So we love all of nature. That was such a special day. And when I thawed out and recognized what I had just saw, that was my very first bobcat. Very exciting. We also butterfly, right? Butterfly, right? We use that as a verb now. We're just talking about that. And this is our great spangled fritillary in our meadow. And it looks like it's, hanging out there. These look like tops of cosmos, but I'm not sure. But regardless, we also have monarchs, and this is looking like a female. I don't see the pheromone patches, nice thick veins. So we also tag butterflies at the Allegheny front. So not only do we have bobcats roaming around and, hooded warblers that are there all year round, right? We also have butterflies all year round, including the winter. I'm lying, of course. But when they do come through, we catch them and we put tags on them. So we are now a monarch station. And some other beautiful things appear. Now, unfortunately, this picture, I got this blade of grass perfectly in focus. I'm standing really far away because I've got my 200 lens on with a 1.4, but either way, Eastern box turtle, and she's a lady as far as I can tell. And I'm going by the domed carapace here and the dark eye here on the marginal scuttle. I'm not seeing a lot of flatness. I'm going with lady. I could be wrong. The way that you look, it's more diagnostic if you flip them over, but it's just rude. It's rude. I don't need to know if it's a lady. She's a lady, right? Either way, walked right through the Hawkwatch as we're checking out hawks. Stuff like that just makes your day. We just love it, right? And of course, that doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, it's an extra special day. All right, so what do we do at the Hawkwatch? We stare at the sky. These are some of our, there's Jean again, and Nancy, and Ed Gordy. Ed, you're going to still see up there all the time. Ed's always up there. Anyhow, we stare at the sky a lot, as do other things like this fake owl. Now that fake owl we put up there because hawks don't like owls. And so they come in and they come closer and look at the sky. You'll see the moon out, the moon during the day. Another little treasure that we have. Look, there's so much that happens at this place. Remember I told you I walked in, I couldn't believe it. And this place is like a magical place, and I thought they were all delusional. It's all true. It's all true. And literally, as I was becoming a hawk watcher, I had been a birder before that, just trying to figure this out. I just was trying to come to terms with this. I just didn't know what to do. So I ended up writing a book about hawk watching because there weren't a lot out there. And I just thought, people don't know about this weird thing that we do where we stare at the sky. And that's what this book is about. What are people doing staring at the sky looking for hawks? And that's what it's all about. And a lot of the stories from Allegheny Front are there. But one of the things I want to point out is if you come to the Allegheny Front, I made masking cool before anyone else was doing it with COVID, mainly because I'm freezing to death up there every time I'm out there. I'm telling you, if you come up there, bring more clothing than you think that you need. It's incredibly cold. And everyone makes fun of me about freezing to death up there, but I'm telling you, it's cold all the time. So if you come up, that's what I normally look like. Maybe a couple more layers, but literally I'm always wearing a mask because my nose dries out. It's terrible. All right, let's take a look at this bird. I don't know if anyone can identify this bird. Don't worry about the bird up here who's also looking just like I am, like, what is going on here? Miss Kelly, do you think you know what this is? No? Well, it's a really big bird and it's got a white tail. Let me give you another picture. How about now? Could it be a golden eagle? It's not a golden eagle. Even though it's got that black on the edge of its tail, look at that monstrous head. That monstrous head is a bald eagle. Golden eagles don't have big heads. They have very small heads compared to a bald eagle. Bald eagle, this guy's basically got a bowling ball on the front of him, right? Big, huge head hanging down. Now, this is probably a 4th year bird is what I'm thinking. So he's kind of got the white head and he's still got some white here. Actually, he's got a lot of white. But one of the other things that bald eagles do is they put their tail down when they're ripping fish apart. And the back of their tail gets dirty. That might be dirt or mud. So that might also be giving it. I would say it's probably a 4th year bald eagle. Why he's carrying a stick, I don't know. But if I were a bald eagle, I'd carry a stick. That's just what I'd do. You can make fun of me all you want. I'm a bald eagle and I carry a stick. That's what I'm going to do. So magical stuff that we see all the time up there. I just love it. I just love it up there. All right, now this bird, he's looking a little bit different. He looks streamlined, almost looks like a Sharpie, but he's not a Sharpie. It looks like a falcon of some kind. I don't think it's a peregrine. I'm thinking maybe a kestrel, maybe. But it really is really difficult to identify these birds looking at pictures. But in motion, they're not. Because this guy's so fast, he's a Merlin. Well, actually, it's a she. More than likely, it's a she. Probably not a juvenile, probably a female. And in motion, you'll see they're just so much faster than kestrels. They're just going to be out of there quick. So I would say that's a Merlin, probably a female. All right, here's me. Look, right now I've looked at that picture. I'm like, it's a Merlin, right? But on the spot, it's very difficult. So I'm walking from the other side, and you'll notice I'm carrying a camera. And I have my binoculars. I always have both. I go to my binoculars first, trying to identify the bird. Some birds are really hard. I try to take a picture of. Then I can go back and go through my mind. All right, what features did it have? What's diagnostic? And it helps out tremendously. Now, it's dangerous because often you'll miss your better views in the binoculars because you went for your camera. So it's tricky. But cameras are a really nice supplement to what hawk watchers are doing these days. So not everyone does both. I try to do both. A lot of people just stick with one or the other, but you know, what can you say? But you could tell I'm in deep thought trying to figure out what the bird was that I just saw. And notice how foggy it is here. It's actually not fog, that's haze. Bobcat again, I don't know why that's it. Okay, anyhow, here's my partner in crime. This is Janine. This is our son Theo. He's bigger now, and we are tagging butterflies. We start this in August, and when the butterflies, they go surprisingly far into the season. That little dot that we have there, that is the tag, and that's how we can figure out what's happening with butterflies. Look, butterflying fits in perfectly with Audubon. We are all about nature, and butterflies also migrate, so we're into it also. And plus, who doesn't like a butterfly? I mean, just honestly. So we do that, and that's another activity that we do. That's the camera that I'm normally using. She has the better camera, so if you see really good pictures, she probably took it, because I've got this one. It's fine, but whatever. I'm not going to get into it. All right, we also do some batting now. So this is Heidi Mellendor, and this is a picnic that we had. She brought one of these bat boxes for us, and now we're starting to count bats that are hopefully making a comeback in Pennsylvania. So we do a little bit of everything. And of course, we eat. This is a Sunday. I'm not counting, so I can cook, and we have a picnic going on. And I like these days because I don't have to count the birds. I can talk to people more. I can also take pictures, right? And like take pictures not for diagnostic purposes, but for, you know, the pictures that I want. So we certainly do eat up there. And this is a golden eagle. And the reason I'm showing you this picture is because this is still a good picture. Those of you that have tried to take pictures of birds that are far away, it's really hard to get a clear view. Binoculars, it looks spectacular. All right, this is absolutely looking like a juvenile. Look at that beautiful tail. I'm not going to go through every single species. We can always do that. We can do like an ID talk, but beautiful juvenile, just looks gorgeous to me. This is one that's closer, that is in, that you can't tell. This is about 50-mile-an-hour wind. And nothing usually blows an eagle around, but at 50 miles an hour, even the eagles get blown around. And this is just one of my favorite pictures because I was getting blown off the hillside. This eagle was getting blown off course. And we have this moment together. I have a picture earlier. He's looking at me. I'm telling you, he was looking right at me. Why wouldn't you? It's me out on the mountain, him out in the sky. We're the only two there. We have each other, right? That's all we have. We shared a moment. And this is what they look like if I zoomed in. And of course, it's not perfect. I'll show you some perfect pictures in a bit. But look at this thing. It almost doesn't look real. But regardless, we shared this moment of standing in 50-mile-an-hour wind. And it wasn't that cold out, but it was hard to breathe. I mean, you know, it's high winds when you have trouble breathing. There's no way you could face into it. He's facing into it, but I'm not. I'm facing towards him, and I've got a big hood on and everything like that. It also gets really, really cold up there. Crazy cold, crazy cold. You gotta understand that if it's nice at your place, it doesn't mean it's nice there. You know, sometimes you go up and you're like, oh, I guess we have snow up here. Okay. So here's me being a hypocrite. I am an environmentalist and a conservationist, and look what I'm driving, right? So hypocrite, I am. But I needed four-wheel drive that day. So normally I take a smaller car, but you know, sometimes you need four-wheel drive. You know, if we were on YouTube, you could all put like incredibly nasty comments that you would never say it to any person. Maybe we try that on the okay, whatever. I'm kidding. It's also beautiful, even if you don't get birds. The beauty of our place is just magnificent. Remember that box? Remember that box? It's still there. After 30 years, that box is there. It's been painted. I've painted it 4 or 5 times. You know, but I just love this place, and you will too, even if it's snowing. We also, owl. So what's in the bag? What's in the bag? I hope everyone knows it's an owl. This is Dave Darney. He is our owl bander, and he lets the public participate. This is one of our board members, Ed Gordy Jr., and he's tough with the weather. I can't take the cold like these two gentlemen. They're amazing. Do it all night. It's crazy cold, crazy, crazy, terrible cold. But this is what we're getting. We're getting little saw-whet owls. And these saw-whet owls are so cute and lovable, but remember, they will dig into you. And I've seen so many owls dig into Dave here, and he's just wonderful with them. And he also, this owl is like, hey, could you take my picture? Sure, I can do that, right? And they're just such, it's life-changing. If you've never been to an owl banding, you need to go at least once. It is just seeing an owl up close like this. It just changes your perspective. And we do that mainly October, November. We also have it open to the public. This is Clyde. Clyde has been coming to our site for a very long time to see the golden eagles. When we let him know, and his eyesight's not great, so we have, you know, we got him up here. It's dark out. Clyde finally got to see one of the saw-whets that we've been talking about. He doesn't like to drive at night. You know, his eyes aren't good. But it is open to the public. Make sure you always check our site. Make sure you follow the rules, and you'll have a spectacular, spectacular experience. If we get an owl that night. Sometimes we don't get any. Sometimes we get 10. And occasionally in the snow, you've got this chicken running around, right, that we release so hunters can shoot. Strange. I don't get it for this particular species. I walked right up to this bird. How could you shoot this thing, right? But whatever. Either way, I had a great day. I didn't see any other birds that day, but I got to hang out with a pheasant. It is strange also that we have like an invasive bird that we keep breeding and mixing with the other birds. Regardless, I don't hold against it. That is a magnificent bird. I love spending the day with it. I'm literally feet away from this thing. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. You know, maybe I shouldn't be birding and telling, but the bird and I had a day together. That's all I'm saying. And it was a great day. Great day. All right, normally look like I'm freezing. I'm hoping someone else is about to say I'm cold too, but they won't. Usually just to spite me, but I'm freezing to death here, right? Because I've been standing for hours, begging someone. This is what we do a lot of. Sometimes the birds aren't flying. So if you come up there, understand the birds aren't always flying. So sometimes we stand around. Thankfully, they're wonderful people. Tom Cool, by the way, some of you would know him, PSO. All right. And we also have picnics and we have great times together and we educate the public. That's one of Audubon's things, right? If we're an Audubon, we're trying to help people understand what's going on. And we do. And we also have some fantastic people that help us build stuff. This is Adam. All you need to know is if you need a bat box built, call us. We'll give you Adam's name. He'll build anything for anyone. And there's Greg and a couple others. And this is a great design. You can lower it with one person to check up and clean out the bat boxes, stuff like that. And there's Heidi again. And here's Theo. That's my son working with Adam, learning a little bit of engineer. Adam's an engineer, a great guy, really wonderful asset to our organization. And there's my kids, and they grew up with the birds. An eagle flies past now, they don't care. They've seen so many eagles in their life. They're like, look at me, look at me. I'm like, no, look at the eagle, look at the eagle. You know, but whatever. That's probably a good problem to have because most kids don't go outside anymore. Our kids are always outside. To them, it's just another day. Remember those days? I think most of us remember those days. But if we have young people on the line, they don't remember those days. They don't go outside. That is our mission. We're trying to get young people outside. And so, enough chatting. Here's a bird, and I'll give you a hint. If you don't know what this bird is, when I look at the shoulders of this hawk, they kind of look red. I hope everyone's putting it together, right? Red-shouldered hawk. These are brutal to get pictures of. I don't know why I can never get a good picture of them. I can't tell if I took this picture. I gave myself credit, but it's probably good enough that Janine took it. But regardless, I'm taking it. And then I'll zoom in just a little bit, and you can. Okay, that wasn't much of a zoom at all. Wow, I really thought I was doing a lot better. Either way, you can actually see some red. And this is an adult male. This is an easy bird to identify. Normally, we don't get to see these wonderful views with a red shoulder. Normally, they're really, really high up, and they look like every other bird. So it takes some time. All right. Anyone know what this bird is? Capital M. You remember Sesame Street? And today we are brought to you by the capital M, right? But this one's really the capital O. This is an osprey. And there's only one bird that looks like a capital M, and that's an osprey. So if you see a giant letter M coming towards you and it's got like a white belly, it's probably an osprey. A pretty easy bird to identify. Notice the white marks where the light's coming through. Probably, I don't know, it doesn't look like it's molting yet, but whatever. Either way, interesting. All right, this is also what we look like in the spring. It's freezing out, but we got some sunlight, so it feels good. Here's the other problem. Here's another reason why I wear a mask: sunburn. This place will burn you to a crisp. So if you ever come up to Allegheny Front, understand if the sun's out, you're 2850, you're going to get burned. So you got to be careful, protect yourself. I try to protect as much as I can. I got some sunscreen on there, and of course it's going to get all over my sunglasses, and I'm going to complain about it all day, and they're going to fog up because I'm wearing this mask. So I put a little cut here, whatever. There's Tom Cool, our fashion plate. This is Bob Stewart. He's been there forever. He is our vice president, and that's Janet Cool, and she's probably our very best peregrine falcon identifier. I don't know why when she's out there, peregrine falcons, they must like her. I don't know. What else can I say? But if you see Janet there, just stand next to her. You're going to find a peregrine falcon. I guarantee it. Now, you've seen my pictures. This is Dave Potter. If you want to take great pictures, stand next to this guy. Potter is the man, right? These are his pictures. I'm just going to show you two because I don't want everyone like Potter, and no one even remembers who I am, right? He's like, if you're going out together, he's the one the girls want to talk to because look at these pictures. Boom, Merlin. Okay, I zoomed in a little too much, but that's a Merlin. I don't take pictures like this, right? I zoomed in too much. Potter, don't get mad at me, all right? These, I can't believe, I can stand right next to him and people are like, you photoshopped this. He takes the picture and says, look what I just got. And you're like, what? I just took the same picture. How did you, it's not fair. Life's not fair. Get over it. Look at this bald eagle picture he took. Look at this. Standing right next to the guy. He gets this. What do I get? You've seen my pictures. He gets this. Right? All right. And by the way, these are the ones that he sent to me with low definition. You should see the real ones. They're unbelievable. All right. Enough on Potter. We also have a great newsletter. Look, I know you're not all members of the Allegheny Plateau Audubon Society, but you need to read our newsletters. They're that good. Do you see that bird right there? Do you see that bird? That's from the Allegheny Plateau Audubon. Why would you not read this? Our newsletters are fantastic. I mean, they're great. Really, they are. So go on our website, look at our old newsletters. Then you don't have to hear me talking at you anymore. You can just say, oh, we already get it. We understand what went on. More pictures from our newsletter. We've got great people, just like all Audubons probably have great people. But they send me their great pictures and we put them together in a beautiful newsletter, butterflies, everything else. So keep you current. We also have a junior hawkwatcher program. Allegheny Plateau Audubon Society is the very first junior hawkwatcher program that is now being adopted across the nation. So if you have youngsters, bring them out after COVID and we will get them situated as young hawk watchers. We're doing a little outreach here. Here's the very first two junior hawk watchers. They were the guinea pigs. Meadow and Theo, those are my kids. That's Bob. And look how happy Bob is because we actually have young people coming out and doing birding, right? We all want it, so we got to encourage them. They get a certificate, they get a patch, a sticker, stuff like that. And this is what our patch looks like. This is with the junior hawk watcher. Actually, this is our sticker. But you'll see this. People kind of recognize it now if you see it on a car. And remember, we had the record for golden eagles in 2015 with 386 total golden eagles. We're happy the other sites have broken our record because it means the eagles are doing well. But we certainly had a lot of fun for a couple years. where we were able to say, oh, look, this was the site that we had the most golden eagles. We have young people out there. There's one of our pieces of history. Actual teenagers looking at birds. Love it. Janine took this picture. I want to take credit for it, but I don't remember who took it, but there's no way I took this one. Janine had to have, right? So this is a red tail coming right at us. You might be like, wait, it doesn't have a red tail. A lot of red tails don't. Here's how you can tell. First of all, notice that it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fingers sticking up, and they're all pointing up. That is going to be telling you probably a red tail, because red shoulders and broad wings look exactly the same. They really do. You can't go by the tail here and so on. But whatever. And here is Wayne. Wayne is our astronomy guy. He's also one of our owl people. Just like so many other Audubons, we have a lot of retired educators. So Wayne's going to probably be putting on an astronomy presentation in the next couple weeks at Allegheny Front. So check our site. Everyone's welcome. We'll put out our COVID stuff. We'll make sure it's safe, everything like that. Make sure that we can do this safely. But when we're done with hawks during the day, we go at night. All right, here's a bird, and I'm not going to identify this one. This is what we run into. This is a very problematic bird. It's a red tail. It is a red shoulder. It is a broad wing. It's all three. It's really hard to identify certain birds. It is. If I give another talk, we can take our time and figure out what bird this is. This is what troubles hawk watchers. It's really hard, and this is why you need the specialization. All of you can vote on it. I know I'm really certain it's a broadwing. I'm really certain it's a red shoulder, and I'm really certain it's a red tail. It's only one of those. We're going to need to go through those clues, but we don't have time for that. We're at the hour mark, so let me just fill you in. We, like our owl, stare out and look for birds. And if we don't see birds, we look at the moon. See what we're doing. Check us out at Allegheny Front Hawkwatch if you're on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, just look at our site. Don't look at all the other stuff out there. It'll rot your brain. Just go to our site, nothing else. And any other Audubon, right? Here is our website, Allegheny Plateau Audubon.org. Good luck typing that in. You get a bonus point if you can type that in 5 times or less and get it right. All those words are really hard to type in because plateau, good luck spelling that one. Audubon itself is a tough one. Allegheny, you could spell it a bunch of different ways. Good luck. Look, just type in Allegheny Front Hawkwatch. It'll come up, Allegheny Plateau. Or go to the Audubon site. Once you have it in your system, we're actually going to change the name for our but we realize no one types it in anymore. Once it's up, your computer will remember and so on. We also have all of our hawk watching data on hawkcount.org. You can always look that up. We have a Twitter account, and that also feeds right into our Audubon. So if we have like a cancellation right away, we put that out as quickly as we can. And you can always talk to me directly. I'm at wargo@apas oh wait, no, that's wrong. That's wargo.apas at gmail.com. I just put that on right before we got here. Okay. But we're at an hour. We said we'd go for an hour, so let's end there. So thank you very much. Easy with the applause. It is hurting my ears. Hurting my ears, right? That is one thing. Like I was right before COVID, right as COVID was hitting, I was giving a presentation at, we were down in West Virginia, Brooks, and they were adopting the I think snapping or whatever. It's just so odd. We've all been raised for clapping, right? To show different ways, but it's just, we're in a different world now. And by the way, it makes a lot of sense not to clap. If you wear a hearing aid, clapping hurts. I don't know this, but people with hearing aids are like, I'm really happy we're not clapping anymore because it amplifies and it's loud in my ears. So, okay. Thank you very much.
So fun fact, if you go down to reactions on your toolbar, we can all clap for Brian silently. You can just pick the clapping hands and put them right
How do you do that? How do you do that?
There's a little button called reactions. You click on it and we can either thumbs up you or clap for you. How about that?
Can you give a thumbs down?
You cannot. There is no option for.
Ah, see, yeah, I did this. I did this the other day. I was looking for a site. I got on a YouTube thing, and I was like trying to figure out what I was doing. I accidentally hit a thumbs up. I didn't want to give a thumbs up to this thing, but I was just clumsy, and I was trying to click something else, and I don't remember what it was. Someone like, pouring paint on their head, whatever it was. I was clearly in the wrong place. I gave them a thumbs up. Now I'm like, I don't want them to think I gave them a thumbs up for what, whatever. So you should have a thumbs down on here. We gotta be honest.
You just have to do that manually.
Yeah.
Well, good Lord. I'll just speak for myself, but I haven't stopped smiling and giggling since you started talking. And I can, as someone who is not a member of the chapter but has read your newsletters, I can attest to the fact that your newsletters are out of this world. I've had to scour through chapter after chapter after chapter's newsletters, and every time I read one from Allegheny Plateau, I want to come visit.
Oh, well, we do. We take a lot of pride. And the thing that we're most proud of is we get a lot of different members to contribute. And a lot of them don't like to contribute. Like, who wants to write something and then have other people read it? But, we help them out, and it turns out well. Pardon me.
Brian, before you go, we had a quick question. Well, this may not be a quick answer, but it's a quick question. A little bit of a taxonomy lesson. Can you go over
this? Is real. This is real. It's not, I don't know why it got so big. I got a haircut, and normally when I get a haircut, I didn't this time. I don't know why, and it's a little out of hand. But now I'm like, I'm stuck. Go with your question.
For a second, I thought maybe in a Zoom interference situation, you thought that was my question.
No, I can't see the question. Should I be able to see them?
You can if you click on chat. It would be way up at the beginning. It was the third or fourth.
Nah, I'd rather look at the owl.
Yeah, someone was asking about the different families of raptors and birds of prey and whether they all fall into the hawk family or are there different families?
Do we have a linguist here? Is that our problem? Because look, when we say hawk, like if there's an eagle up in the sky, it's a hawk. We call them hawks. It's a very general term. Technically, they are not, though, right? We like red-shouldered hawks are hawks. Buteos are hawks. Technically, the others, like vultures, they're not technically, birds of prey, right? Is a generic term that we use for raptors that are flying in the sky. Anything that's big and doesn't flap and it is migrating for us, we call them hawks. So kites, all the accipiters, your sharpshins, coopers, northern goshawk, northern harriers, eagles, vultures, all of these we call hawks, but technically they're not.
Great. If you're interested in figuring out which birds fall into which families, you can either, do you have any guides that you recommend?
I do.
That's always in your pack?
I will give you 3 of the most important ones. Jerry Liguori.
Oh, well, you'd have favorites.
Yeah, of course. Jerry Liguori. I have spent so many hours reading this and Hawks in Flight by Pete Dunn, right? If you're gonna end up doing hawks, you really have to get a specialist guide. And Wheeler has a new one out right now too. This is not going to do it. Okay, this will not do it. Jerry Liguori is such a great guy. He is ill now, ALS. The hawkwatching community is just devastated. He has done more to help people understand how to identify hawks. Big pictures in here, helps you through it. Look, I spent probably about 5 years, like no kidding, really studying these. And it took me about 5 years to really be able to identify hawks. I'm a little bit slower than everyone else, but this is not going to do it. We don't see hawks perching. We don't. In fact, here's the funny thing. Ask a hawk watcher if a bird lands on a limb, what kind of bird is that? They'll probably shrug. I don't know, go chase it. Once it's in the air, our brains tap in, we know what to look for, but they look very similar. you know, for those of you that warbler, think of fall warbling. It's very, very difficult. Hawks, often we don't have good lighting. They all kind of look the same. They kind of have the same shape. So I would highly, highly recommend hawks in flight or hawks at every angle. And Crosley, I'm sorry, has a great one on raptors. There's several of them, but you really do need a specific hawk identification guide. You're not going to be able to learn it without at least one of those.
So we talked about guides and we talked about mentors. What do you think was most helpful in you learning? Because much like you 6 years ago, I would describe myself as a bad birder.
First thing, you want to look at these guides. It's not like when you see the hooded warbler, you're like, boom, I got it, right? You get that big, beautiful black, you know, mask and the yellow. They're not that easy. If you look at a sharpshin and you look at a Cooper's hawk and even a northern goshawk, they look identical. I mean, like literally, it is so difficult. Even for me to this day, it's still hard. So the first thing that I would do is I would look at the guides and I would literally spend a little bit of time alone reading through, right? Try not to get distracted. Spend time with your guide and then leave your guide at home and go out and stand next to other hawk watchers and then enjoy the birds and don't worry about identifying them. But when you're standing next to a hawk watcher, you can say, how did you know that that one was a sharpshin? And he'll say, do you see the very back of the tail? And you'll say, oh yeah. And say, well, it kind of looked like the other one. Say, no, a Cooper's hawk is going to often has a rounder tail and it's got a white terminus to it. Oh, and you pick up little things like that. But the other thing is, don't do what I do. Don't feel that you're an absolute failure for years and years and years, because then you go out and you freeze. If you get it wrong, who cares? Enjoy whatever that magnificent bird was. So I would say don't take it too seriously. Look at your guides, go around other hawk watchers, and just enjoy. It'll come eventually.
I think too, the experienced hawk watchers, experienced birders, they don't even realize most times when they're talking to beginners how much they're capable of sharing. I mean, they just start talking and you're taking in the information as a beginner and just so it's always mind-blowing to me.
All right, this is why I wrote the book. Because look, I studied human behavior for some time in graduate school, and I was like fixated on what's going on in their brains. And there's a chapter that in the book where I am contextualizing all of their thought processes, and I come up with a theory of this holistic idea of how hawk watchers go through phases. I don't have research to back this up, but I'm telling you, this is what they do, and this is why it's difficult to understand. They went through the phase of looking at traits at first, but then they now have a gestalt moment. This is an old German word for you holistically see it. Do you guys remember seeing those weird things that if you stared at them and then suddenly, oh, there's a boat back there? Do you know what I'm talking about? This is like 10 or 15 years ago. You could look at these pictures and they became three-dimensional if your eyes got trained. This is what they've done. Now they don't look at what we're looking at. They are looking, they can already see, boom, they already know. We're still trying to get our brains to say, oh, focus in, it's not doing that thing. And that's why I think I struggled for so long, is I didn't realize they are literally looking at things different than I am. That's what the guides help with. You have to go through your phase of, look, big bird, all right, he looks pretty big. Kind of looks like a 2x6 board flying, and he doesn't flap much, and he's got a white head, probably a bald eagle, right? Start with that. And then you're going to ignore all that because often you can't see the white or the dark, and you're going to say, look at him flap. They're not looking at the bird anymore. They're looking at the action of the flap. Because look, if you see this, a lot of people are like, oh, that's a bald eagle. It's not a bald eagle. Bald eagles don't flap like this. This is a great blue heron. And great blue herons are not eagles. They're not raptors, right? But far away, they look alike. And if you see this thing and it never stops flapping, that's not an eagle, okay? You know, they pick up that kind of stuff. So, and like Merlins, forget ever trying to get a picture of them or looking at them. Here's how you can tell a Merlin. This is the trick. You go, oh, what? That there was a bird. It just, and the hawkwatcher will say, Merlin. Because that's how you identify. You can't see them. No one looks at a Merlin. You just say, oh, that's a bird that I couldn't see. It's like a fast car. You don't have to say, oh, what was that? It was a fast car. We get it. We get it. It was that's what a Merlin is, right? Or if it's
yet. I don't think I've met a birder yet who isn't perfectly happy to talk at length about any questions that you have. I think that's one of the best things about going out and not knowing much is the people that you get to meet and the stuff that you learn just by, like what you said, just stand next to someone who knows.
and there's also something about talking to people and being present with them and having humility and building community, even if you're not in their community. It's about being together and sharing ideas and being good to one another and civil. Boy, could we use a little bit more birding these days.
I think we are going to leave it right there. I'm not sure any of us could add anything to that.
Thank you very much for doing this. And I hope all of you visit our Hawkwatch. I hope to come visit your Audubon organization. I have to stop crunching so much data though. It's ruining my life because I don't get to bird anymore. All I do is make graphs. I mean, it's important and everything, but I want to see you people too. So, all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks to all of you who came out today to join us and have come out to our other field trips. I hope you enjoyed this one and hopefully we get to see you again soon. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful week.
Bye-bye.